Welcome to class. It's Mr. Wind. I'm going to use Juan Miro right now to talk to you guys about emphasis. Because as I'm looking at your Juan Miro analysis, I am seeing that the understanding of emphasis is a little weak. And that's fine. It was something we talked about a long time ago, and it was something that maybe was a little confusing to you even then. So, emphasis. What emphasis is, it is the principle of design that uses the elements of art to make our eye look at something very specific in an image. So in other words, it's the thing that you look at when you look at the image. The artist is drawing your eye to one or more things in the image, and they're using the elements of art to do this. So I'm going to use Juan Miro to kind of point out emphasis and then how he's using emphasis in the image. So when the question is, what is being emphasized? I'm asking you, what is the first thing that you kind of look at when you look at this image? For each of us, it's going to be different. We all come with a different set of cultural contexts and cultural cues. We all come with a different set of eyes, a different understanding of the world. And so we all kind of see emphasis a little bit differently. And because of that, that's why it's important for you to explain what is being emphasized and why you think it's being emphasized. It helps us to understand your understanding of the image. Now that was a lot of Mr. Wind talk. I'm going to go through and I'm going to explain to you what I mean. So I already showed you this one by Juan Miro. It's called The Farm. I already kind of talked about this image. And we're just talking about emphasis in this image. So we're talking about what is it that the artist wants us to pay attention to first. And in this case, for me, it's the tree. This big central tree here is what is being emphasized. When we talk about why it's being emphasized, I would personally say it's because of size. It is the biggest thing in the image. So I would say what is being emphasized in this image by Juan Miro, it is the tree. And I would say that that tree is being emphasized with size because it is the biggest thing in the picture. Another thing that I think is being emphasized, like the second place my eye goes to, is this house over here. And I would say that this house is being emphasized. So I would say the house is being emphasized in this image by Juan Miro. And how it's being emphasized, I would say that it is being emphasized by difference because it is probably the most textured thing in this image. This field feels very smooth. Even though there's a lot of stuff in here, it doesn't feel super textured, but all the little dots and lines in here make this feel very textured. That's how something feels textured, is when you have a lot of dots and lines happening very close together. So it feels very different than everything else because it has a lot more texture. This is another image by Juan Miro. It is called The Tilled Field. And we're wondering what it is that's being emphasized in this image. For me personally, the first thing that my eye goes to is this horse with the calf here. I actually don't know if a baby horse is called a calf now that I think about it, but I'm going to call it that. So I would say the thing that is being emphasized in The Tilled Field by Juan Miro is the horse and the calf in the center. I see it being emphasized because it is different than everything else, than its background, because it is so white. Now, another thing personally that is being emphasized is this, I don't know what here. It's a tree, maybe, but this is surrealism, so it has a lot of symbolism. It could be something else. And how is it being emphasized? It is being emphasized because it is different than everything else, because it's so pointy. We have some pointy stuff happening over here, but really this is the most pointy thing in the image. So it's being emphasized by difference because it's so sharp. So I would say this tree shape in the left side of the tilled field by Juan Miro is being emphasized. The tree shape is being emphasized because it is different than everything else, because it is sharp. So when I ask you what is being emphasized in the image above, you would say the tree shape image in the left. And when I say how is it emphasized, you would say difference, because it is sharper than everything else. This is another image by Juan Miro. It's called Catalan landscape. Catalan is an area in Spain, and there's a huge history why the surrealists were interested in Catalan. If you're interested, look it up on the internet. It's kind of interesting, but I'm talking about emphasis here. I'm going to ask you, what is being emphasized in this image? You stop, you look at this image, and where does your eye go first? For me personally, it goes to this white circle here. So I would say, what is being emphasized in this image? The white circle in the upper right image, upper right side of the Catalan landscape by Juan Miro. How is it being emphasized? And I would say that it's being emphasized by size, because it really is the biggest shape in this whole image. Another thing that you could be looking at is maybe this dark triangle cone thing here. So you'd say, what is being emphasized? The dark cone in the center of the Catalan landscape by Juan Miro. How is it being emphasized? And I would say that it is being emphasized through isolation, because there's so little around it that looks like it. And so I would say it is being emphasized by isolation because it seems to be alone. There seems to be no other dark shapes around it. Remember, we all have different ideas about what is being emphasized. So you need to explain your thinking. We come with a different set of eyes, a different experience of life, and because of that, our eyes are drawn to different things. For you, this might not look very isolated. To you, you might be like, what? There's some dark shapes around it. There's some geometric shapes around it. It's not alone. But I just explained why it's alone to me. So in art, because we all see things a little bit differently, you have to explain your thinking. There is not a right or wrong answer. But because of that, your thinking needs to be explained. So we just talked about emphasis. We just gave you a little bit more about how to write about emphasis. I expect to see this in your analysis. Have a good day. I'm glad that you guys are here.